Michaela, it's great to be back. The agents shift. It's still shifting.
It's always shifting. And we're going to jump into some relevant topics in today's market, what's happening right now. So we're at the end of September, which is crazy. So these are all going to apply to real estate agents, to buyers, and to sellers. So if you are one of those, or you think you might be one of those at some point, which most of us will be, this is for you.
Yeah, we see in the media, right? A lot of times people watch the media and the national media and they watch that. And as we know, real estate is hyper local. Of course, there is the national news, but sometimes that can be doom and gloom, or it can be misinformation depending on where you live. Like it's real estate's not even different from state to state or city to city. It's literally different sometimes from street to street. That's why if you're a buyer or seller, you've got to have a local professional to help you out. Of course, you can read the big headlines, but a lot of times those headlines are out there just to get clicks and draws and eyeballs and stuff like that. So today we're going to take a look at a couple of very popular real estate memes going around right now. We're going to explain it to you. What's this mean to buyers? What's it mean to sellers and agents? If you're watching this, what's it mean to you? So let's go for it. First slide right here, Michaela, right out of the gate.
Don't wait to buy real estate and wait. Jim, what does that mean to you?
There's an old saying, and I'm old, so I'm allowed to use it, but it's this: real estate doesn't make you wealthy. It makes your grandkids wealthy, right? So that's the old saying. Like people would buy land, raw land, think they're going to make money off it, but no, it's the time that has the effect. And that's just like if you're in the stock market, if you're in anything, the longer you're in it, the greater your chance is of winning. Because look, the real estate market goes ups and downs, ups and downs, ups and downs. All the national news right now is, oh my gosh, it's Armageddon. Real estate's, terrible. And it has been a rough couple of years. But when you look at it over a long enough track period of time, it's great for buyers, it's great for sellers, and it's been really great for agents. That's what I see.
Yeah, and I think most people would agree real estate is still, among all the investments you can make, real estate is still one of the safest investments you can wait. Like you said, timing it is a huge part of why it can be a great investment. Your equity, it doesn't necessarily build overnight. So you've got to be a little bit patient. Some people did see that shift really quickly, which is wonderful. But you see it go down a little bit, ups and downs. So yeah, but it doesn't happen overnight. But relatively speaking, it's still a very safe investment. People are still buying, people are still selling. There isn't truly a halt in the market like you might have seen.
And they're not making any more land from what I see, and they keep making people. So it's a pretty safe supply and demand issue that you're going to have.
All right, so we'll jump over to the next one. And now this is a huge one right now. Everybody's talking about mortgage rates. If you are a lender, oh my goodness, I'm sure your phone has been ringing off the hooks for the last week. As soon as there's been just a little bit of talk of a drop in interest rate, everybody's gone crazy. And I actually think we've seen an increase in buyer applications for mortgages, which is a great sign. That means people are thinking about buying. If they've been sitting back and waiting, all of a sudden, I know lenders are saying the applications for mortgages have just been flowing in. So, how is this recent drop in mortgage rates going to impact your monthly payment?
It's really interesting. I see a lot of people saying, I missed the boat in 21, 22. One of the worst things that ever happened to real estate was us to have these artificial, crazy low rates of, 2.5, 3.5%. I just want to say this right now. Those are never, ever coming back. They're never going to do it again. It was a huge mistake because what happened is you had people overpaying for homes to get in because they had low rates. And what it did is it caused a huge artificial spike in interest rates. You had people buying homes that probably shouldn't have been. And that's never going to happen again. And that's a good thing. Look, a good balanced interest rate is anything between 6 and 8%. That's a good one. If it dips back down into the fives, you guys better not miss the boat on that. I would tell people right now, I would argue, especially if you're a buyer, you should buy now. Why? Well, the rates are in the low sixes, right? Why would I want to buy now? What if they go down to the low fives? Here's what's going to happen. Just like what Michaela said, every fence sitter out there is waiting for that number to start with a five, and they're going to jump in. Now what happens? Now you have more competition. You get multiple people bidding on one house. What goes up? What happens with the price, Michaela?
Price is going to skyrocket.
The price is going to go up, right? So now you're paying more for the house. So here's my recommendation. I know Michaela agrees with this. Buy now, marry the house, date the rate. If for some reason the rates go down and you get a 4.99 and you're in at 6.25, let's say, we can always do a refi for you and shorten the term. Now, I want to stress that shorten the term. So let's say you do a 30-year at 6.25, rates drop, 1% and you want to refi, then we refi you into a 20. Just knocked 10 years off of the time it's going to take for you to pay off that house. And that's a huge thing. Make sure you talk to Michaela and myself. We have great connections with lenders that can help you do that. They'll also, because we send them a lot of business, they'll give you the best rate going and the lowest fees. And we'll refi you because you're a client for life. Isn't that right, Michaela?
Absolutely. Yep. And something important to note here too, you can look at this graph a couple different ways. And if you did have any experience trying to buy when the rates were in those twos and threes, you probably experienced it for yourself. You would walk into a house, or even if you might not have even gotten your foot in the door, and the agent was calling and saying, "Hey, we need an offer in by 2 o'clock today." And you're like, it's 11. I haven't even seen it. You had no time to think. That is how competitive the market was. It was out of control. So some people made poor purchases because they truly were pressed for time. They were backed into a corner. You also had so many buyers coming in with all cash offers that a lot of people couldn't compete with. So, like Jim already said, people were overpaying for the price or not having the time to do a proper due diligence. They weren't getting the inspections because they felt so pressured to just buy. And a house is a huge investment. We just talked about how much of an investment that can be. So you want to be able to have the time to make a smart investment. But with these numbers specifically, so if you were already at a 7% and comfortable with that $2,600 payment, let's say it's dropped to that 6.29%. If you're still comfortable with that $2,600 monthly payment, you've now increased your purchasing power by $30,000. So that $400,000 house that you thought you can afford, now you can afford a $430,000 house. That means a lot to buyers. That means a lot to sellers too. So you need to pay attention to those rates as they're dropping. Could you see more competition? You would hope. You would hope more buyers are coming in. They feel comfortable affording that house. So you just have to really be mindful of what the interest rates are saying, what the market's doing, how people are responding when you make that price adjustment.
Yeah, and if you're one of our clients, Michaela's or mine, we're gonna keep track. Trust me, we watch the interest rates every single day, so you don't have to. And we'd reach out to you if there was an opportunity, along with our lender, to get a hold of you and say, "Look, this might be a good time to refi. Let's take a look. We'll do what's called a recapture analysis. It's not something you need to learn. We'll figure it out, but we'll do a recapture analysis and see if it makes sense to decrease your rate and shorten your term." Everybody wins in that scenario, and we'd do that for you. Yeah.
Yep. All right. So inventory of homes for sale hits a 5-year high. Jim, this kind of sounds scary, but what does this mean?
So this is great news. I know you're looking at this slide and you're seeing this in the news media. Oh my gosh, there's too many houses for sale. It's another 2008. No, 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 and more no. This is not like a 2008 thing where we had too much inventory. So yes, over a short enough time period of 5 years, we're at a 5-year high. This is good news. It's a balanced market, which means buyers have a little time to breathe. Michaela mentioned it earlier. Nobody wants to look at a house and have to put an offer in 30 minutes later, or bidding on houses sight unseen. We had that going on in Columbus. No, that is bad. You don't want that. And then sellers didn't want to put their home for sale because they were selling so fast, then they didn't have anywhere to go because they knew they were going to be in a bidding war. It was awful. This is much better. There's a great selection for buyers, something to choose from, maybe even a tiny little bit of negotiating power now on the buyer side. Still not what I would call a buyer's market, but it's not a true seller's market either. Now, sellers, you have time to put your house on the market. And yes, it's going to take a little bit more time to sell. You're going to have to take some more showings. You're not going to have an open house on one weekend and have 10 offers. That's not how it's going to go. And for agents, it gives you a chance to breathe and really do what's right for your clients and not just shove them in a house because it's available. You find a house that meets their needs. Now, to put this into perspective, this 5 year, as far as number of homes available for sale, that graph looks really scary. That's still nothing like it was in '08. It was 4 times the number of homes you see here on the market in this country, 4 times that, 4x, not 4%, 4 times that back in '08. So, we're getting a nice blend where it's a balanced market, and that's what we.
And, from an agent perspective too, we really have to, dig a little deeper and make sure that our marketing is reaching the right people. Like Jim said, it's not you're just not throwing up the listing and it's sold the next day. So our marketing really has to be on point. Sellers, make sure you're interviewing your agents, talking to agents about what their plan is because your home likely will sit for a little bit, hopefully not too long, that's all of our goals. But talk about what that marketing plan looks like. Be prepared to host or have more than one open house and a handful of showings. And then buyers, when you see a house that has sat with their days on the market 150, 180, that's not necessarily a red flag. 5 years ago, yeah, if it sat for 10 days, you were like, "What's wrong with that house? It hasn't sold yet.
Right.
It's crazy." That is not the market we're in right now. A home that sat for some time doesn't necessarily mean there's something wrong with it. So, if you've been passing on houses because 'cause you're like, "Ah, they've been on the market for 150 days, something must be wrong with it." That is not the right mentality to have right now. Go take a look at the house, go do your inspections, ask for those seller's disclosures, really learn about the home because chances are there's absolutely nothing wrong with the house. It's just the market is moving a little slower. It's giving you time to think about it. This is just a really good opportunity to do your homework, do your due diligence, take the time to think about and talk to your lenders. Can you afford this house? What does your pricing strategy look like? This is all good things for buyers and for sellers.
To your point on this, Michaela, it's really why it's important to have a local agent that knows the area who can set things in context for you. It's very important to understand what's going on because look, even community to community inside the same city are going to have different days on market and different expectations of how long that house has been on the market before it's a stigmatized property, right? And we can set that up for you as a seller so you understand that, but also especially buyers. You need an agent to be able to set that up for you who knows what's going on in that area and on that particular street, even inside that community.
Yeah. All right. So we will jump over to the next one. The median US home sale price rose 206,000 from June 2005 to June 2025, increasing the typical home owner equity. So we're talking about a 20-year span here. And I will click over to the next one because it all ties in. For example, a typical homeowner who purchased a median price home in 2005 has seen their property's value increase by roughly 90%, translating to hundreds of thousands of dollars in potential profit. All right, Jim, what does this mean?
So I hear so many people say, I'm going to wait and I'm going to time the market. I'm going to buy the dip, buy the dip. That's what everybody talks about, like on Bitcoin, on crypto, right? And on the stock market. And that is good advice. Buy the dip. But in real estate, we're looking for a long term investment. This is a place where you're going to not just make money, but you're going to raise your family. And so this is a perfect example over the last 20 years, what has happened, where people who got in 2005, just so you know, they got crushed in '08 and '09. I was one of them, right? Our house back then we bought actually in 2004 and we paid the highest in the neighborhood for it, real smart as real estate agents, right? $425,000 back then. And then boom, along came '08 and the exact same type of home as ours, comps as we call them, comparables, we're selling wholesale for 275. So basically on paper, we lost our butts, right? We got killed on it. But over time, as you can see here, our equity went up. We've almost doubled now as far as that money. So over time, it's going to make you money. And you want to talk to your agent about is it the right time to sell or buy? Now, renters, I want to talk to you, first time home buyers. This slide should be saying a ton to you, and the one previous before that. The average homeowner, average, made over $205,000 in equity in a 20-year period. Think about that. That's what, 10 grand a year, $800 a month you stuck into a bank account. Instead of if you were just paying rent, all of that money is gone. Imagine if you were putting $800 every single month away that's off of that payment. So let's say your payment was $2,000. I'm just using that as a number, but you were making $800 a month. Your payment's now 1,200 when you look at it at the end because you were putting that money away. Yeah, you're making that $2,000 payment, but at the end you get this money back. And don't forget also, you paid down on the mortgage. You made that equity on top of it. And we'll be doing a future video in the future talking about the rent versus buy calculator. We've got a really great one, Michaela and I have that we'll show you. So it's important to look at this. And so what do people do with this money? Well, here's how it works, guys, especially for some home buyers. You take that $205,000 and you roll that into your next house. right? And you buy that, you put that money down. Now you're putting in maybe 50% down or something like that. You're getting a better rate. You're taking a 10-year note or 15-year note instead of a 30. Now your house is paid off. And that's how you retire with a nest egg that you can just imagine if you had no rent or mortgage payment anymore, because that happens eventually in housing. Eventually, that payment goes away. And in some states, the income, or I'm sorry, the property tax rate is so low, basically all you're paying is the insurance and a few $100 a month. That's how you retire and live the American dream.
Especially and I don't know how it is in your market, Jim, but I know down here in Charleston, we don't have rent control, and so what some people are paying in their rent is absolutely mind-blowing to me, and like you said, they are essentially paying somebody else's mortgage or they're just throwing that money away every month, and they don't realize so even if you just say, "Hey, this is what my rent is right now," how much purchasing power do I have if I want to stay close to this monthly payment? If you are happy with what you're paying in rent, let's still have a conversation. Let's bring a lender in and see how much house you could actually afford for the same price that you're paying in rent. And to your point, Jim, I have this conversation, especially with first time home buyers, because I think sometimes people get a little bit stuck that the first house you buy has to be the dream house. No, it's going to be a stepping stone house. Most of us cannot afford the dream house for our first home as much as we'd like that. I'm just going to have to be honest and transparent there. It is a stepping stone. It is one to get your foot in the door. And arguably, it's the hardest house to get your foot into the door. That first one is difficult. It has required so much saving and prep work. And then it's not the perfect house. So you're working really, really hard to get that house. But once you have it, when you see that equity starting to build, when you see the potential profit you have to make, you sell at the right time, you have and that's where you really the ball starts rolling, you get that momentum and it gets you one step closer. If you are a first time home buyer, you can only afford a fixer upper and you're kind of feeling bummed out about it. There's nothing wrong with that. Or if it's just it's not what you had in mind, understand, don't have a magic 8 ball. We I wish we knew what the, future held for all of us, so we can't really map it out too much, but we could, just using historical data, understand, okay, how much do we think this could be worth in 10 years? Do you think you'll be ready to transition in 10 years? And then where will that get you?
We can't guarantee them how to win, Michaela, but we can definitely guarantee them how to lose.
Right.
And that's to not get into the game. But we'll do a video also. We're gonna do a video for rent versus buy for our first time homebuyers. We're also gonna do a thing called the starter home. You don't get the dream home if you don't do the starter home, guys. And she's right. You're going to sacrifice for it. You're not going to like where it's at. You're not going to like everything in it. But that's the stepping stone, the sacrifice you make to get the dream home. And we'll show you how it's done. Love it.
All right. And this really does still tie into everything else we were just talking about. 66% of builders are offering incentives. And I would argue maybe even more than 66%. Again, we are at the end of September. So, something really important for buyers, sellers, agents to know a lot of builders are reaching the end of their fiscal year. So, these incentives, even people who don't often offer incentives, they might be starting to, or their incentives might be even more aggressive. But Jim, do you want to jump into this one a little?
Yeah, so I think it's really important for buyers to understand that you need an agent when you buy a new build home. They're going to know, first of all the builders that are out there. So you're not just looking at one particular builder, you get to shop all the different builders. And also, the buyer's agent's going to help you compare and contrast the existing home market compared to the new build market and what's going to home. Look, the new build home a lot of times cost per square foot is going to be more, but we have builders right now in Columbus, Ohio that are doing 2.99% 30-year fixed rates to get people in. Remember everybody who was complaining that 21 and 22, they missed it? Well, you didn't miss it if you're willing to look at new builds. I tell all agents this. You should set the expectations with your buyers that we're going to look at new builds just to see if we're going to rule them out. Even though people say, I don't want a new build, we tell all of our buyers, you need to at least look. And I got to tell you, it's more often than not that when they see it and they see what they can get with the builder incentives that are being offered, they end up going with a new build, especially when you're first getting into the market. House has a warranty. There's no major maintenance that might need to be done. You're not worried about a hot water tank or furnace going out or need a new roof or something like that. Because when you're getting started, it's tough. And I think you're going to see more and more builders building what we call more affordable homes, not affordable housing where people are giving you free rent and stuff like that or free mortgages, but homes that are more affordable. I think you're gonna see that opening up. I know the new governor in Ohio coming is gonna be doing that, opening up the zoning and the land use so we can start building new homes, but, smaller in size and things like that. When you're getting started, you don't need, 3,000 square feet, 4 bedrooms, 2.5 baths, 3-car garage, full finished basement. You don't need that when you get started. And there's gonna be something nice, new, clean, great neighborhood, but more affordable in pricing. Then couple that with the great rates, it's gonna help first-time home buyers get in. Sellers, new builds are a great thing to look at because they're very forgiving when you have a house to sell. They'll give you a timeline as far as how the construction's going, and they'll keep up with you, and you just have to have it in contract by a certain point of the build. If for some reason that doesn't work, then they turn the home into what's called a spec home. They sell it on the open market. Buyer spec homes are new build homes that are already done. So that's a great ways. But agents, um, you need to be showing new builds just to see if it's an option to your buyers. There you go, Michaela. That's my point on that.
No, I think that's great. Sellers, really take the time to look at what new construction is happening around the house that you're selling. And agents, make sure you're doing this as well. Even if it's in a different neighborhood, understand that it's could potentially still be your competition, and those builders are offering incentives. So keep that in mind whenever you're pricing your home. Maybe it's a street over, but if somebody can buy almost the exact same house, brand new with a warranty and more aggressive incentives, they're going to take that into consideration, even if they're still looking at your house. So, just something to keep in the back of your mind. New construction can be really difficult for sellers to compete with, but that doesn't mean it's not possible. And that's where your agent really needs to be doing their job with marketing the home properly, helping you understand maybe what concessions you should be adding and how to compete with that new construction. Buyers, there is a ton of opportunity for you here. If you, like Jim said, have written off new construction, please make sure you go in, but make sure you go in with your real estate agent. Understand that the sales rep who works at the builder's office, they're going to be wonderful. They're going to be very knowledgeable. And often you'll work hand in hand with both your agent, the sales rep, the builder. We're all going to work together. But the sales rep works for the builder. Your agent works for you. That sales rep cannot advocate for you. That is not their job. They work for the builder. They might be wonderful and they will tell you they can handle the process from start to finish, which they absolutely can, but they will still be advocating for the builder. The builder's best interest will always be in mind. Make sure when you're reading those contracts, understand that it protects the builder first and foremost. So there could be longer lead times, things like that. Things change. That's where you need an agent, but go in with your agent from the very beginning. Sometimes they get a little challenging to work with. If you try to add in an agent later on, you still need an agent. Bottom line, please bring your agent to new construction.
Yeah, I'll give you a quick story and then before we jump off here, but Stacy just did a luxury home. Luxury homes here in Columbus are anything above 500,000 and it was $750,000 new build. And she went there with the client for the walkthrough and there was something wrong with the roof. And so we also got an inspection, by the way, you should be using a home inspector on. And yeah, there was something wrong with the roof, brand new home roof. And the builder was trying to get them to take it. And, my wife went ballistic and went nuts and ended up getting them a whole new roof, completely peeled the whole thing off and put a whole brand new roof on there because, there was something that they had put on it. It was just a mess. If anyone wants to see it, I can show you the pictures on it, especially if you're an agent out there, you'd love to see this. It was crazy. Brand new house, how can the roof be jacked up? And it was. So you're right. Take an agent.
The builders are often willing to pay your buyer's agent compensation. So if you're a buyer, you have an agent, oftentimes the builder is going to pay your agent their compensation. So it's not more money out of your pocket. You're getting that extra layer of protection. You're getting to have that agent represent you, and the builder is going to pay for it. But they aren't going to volunteer that if you don't ask from the beginning. So, to Jim's
Yeah,
point,
it's a great point. Yeah, why not? Why wouldn't you take your agent with you? So love it.
absolutely.
So great stuff. So the to overall again, if you know Michaela and you're in the Charleston area down there, or if you're somebody who knows Michaela and you're looking to do something outside of Charleston, we have a huge network of agents. We have 90,000 agents. Michaela and I are teamed up here. She's down south. I'm up north here in Ohio. But get a hold of her if you're looking to buy, if you're looking to sell, if you're looking to invest in real estate. get in touch with her. It's never too early to start the conversation now. Even if you're not looking at doing something until 2026, the time to talk is now, believe it or not. It seems crazy to say that, but look, it's Q4 of 2025, and 2025 is over pretty much. And if you're an agent who's interested in learning some more stuff on how you can work with us and how you can talk to our big network of agents and sell houses, and you live in Texas and you want to sell houses in California, we can show you how that works. If you're an agent who's interested in looking at doing a little commercial on the side, our brokerage is a great place for that, and even doing some international sales. That's why my face is all red. I was in St. John, and we're working on a commercial project down there, luxury co-ownership, fractional ownership down there. And you can sell international properties in the Caribbean, take tax deductible trips down to see how the construction is going. But we'd love to work with you as an agent, talk to you, show you how our broker works too.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Jim. And until next time, we'll see you guys later.
Great. We'll see you soon.